Good evening. How are you guys doing tonight? Welcome to the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. I hope everybody's had a great day. My name is Keith B Dixon, commercial photographer all day, every day. I am dual broadcasting. I am dual broadcasting to YouTube, my YouTube channel, as well as Periscope, you guys. If the audio is working okay, if the audio is working out for you, throw in a Wi Fi for me. Let me see a Wi Fi. The audio is working. Okay, perfect. Perfect. No echo. What's up, Brian? Brian Jackson, what's up? Okay, no echo, right? Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. And before we get started, I just want you guys to know this is definitely the community for the Bomb Squad. So if you are looking for the Bomb Squad and you're looking for the live stream, yes, thank you, Amber. Here it is right here. You can find us on Facebook. We'll be taking a look at the Facebook page a little later on tonight. We're talking about contrast. And contrast was something I really didn't understand as a photographer back in the day. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to show you some examples of what contrast looks like. There's basically two types, tone and color contrast. And there's also textural contrast as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that, and I'm going to throw a little bit of trickery in there as well. You know, I got to trick you guys and slip it up. Yes. Thank you, Deshaun. Thank you. So I've been working out on this. This was my part of my New Year's launch is to just go full scale on YouTube. So that people could see it. All right. So let's dive into this. I hope everybody is doing well. Let me names and locations. Let me see names and locations. That way I can say hello and we can get the hellos out of the way. Thank you for the invites that you guys sent out and the hearts as well. I appreciate it. We're just about at 13 million. So I really appreciate that. Yes. Captain Amber from Detroit. Iris, what's going on? La White, what's up? Renard, what's up, Renard? What's going on, my man from the NO, Maryland and Missouri? Tori's, what's up? Tori, I got your message. Fantastic. Captain Lamar, what's up, DG? Look at these captains coming in here real strong and tight, you guys. Yes. Jersey Joseph. All the captains are logging in right behind each other, right? Brian, what's up from Kentucky? Glad to see you back, my friend. Yes. And there's our exposure 101 Periscope account, you guys. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Miss Cosby, what's up? Captain, who else do we have in here that I missed? Captain Antoinette, yes. She is, Captain Antoinette is extraordinary. Quit playing, you guys. Okay, there it is right there. So let's dive into this message. And before I dive in it, thank you. Oh, what's up, Dab? Glad to see you, my friend. So before we dive into this, here's what the backstory looks like. It's a lot to get this going every single day, you guys. So when it gets super busy, timing and content is just real critical. So this is what the back shot looks like. It's a bunch of moving parts, you guys. As you can see, I got the Archon mount, the TW broadcaster. So I'm actually looking at your comments on the phone, but just to give you an idea of what all this madness is. So MacBook Pro here. And then the TW broadcaster is actually holding the phone that I'm using to read the comments, but also looking at an enlarged view on the screen here. So I can flip back and forth. I can also look at the YouTube page on this screen, this monitor that you're looking at. And this is literally what it takes to get it done, you guys. And if you're interested in live streaming, I just want to throw this nugget out at you. I know Deshaun live streams. I'm actually not connected to Periscope Producer on the telephone. So if you're experiencing a lot better connection, it's going from computer basically to internet. So, and that's one of the new features that they just came out with in Wirecast. So I'm broadcasting directly out of Wirecast, no telephone connection. This is all over the internet. So what I wanted to do was just improve that experience, especially streaming live to YouTube. I wanted to create an experience for you guys that was going to work. So there it is. All right. So we are live on YouTube right now. And let me see who's over there. Jersey Joe is on YouTube. You guys can comment over there as well. So if you go over to my YouTube channel, just do a search for Keith B Dixon or the Keith B Dixon Photo Zone. Jersey Joe is over there. If somebody could put that link up, that'd be great. I'm not that fluid in terms of, let me see if I could just share that out real quick on Twitter. I'm not that fluid. Okay, here we go. Let me see if I can get it done here. Yeah, thought I could. It's asking me. Let me do it anyway. Since I started it, might as well, right? So all I'm doing is I'm sending out a tweet right now for the link so you guys can get that. I've got to figure out a faster way to do this. So bear with me. All right, so I just tweeted it out just now, you guys. And there's a way to do it. I don't know. I just forgot how to do it because I'm trying to memorize so much stuff here. All right, there it is right there. So you just saw me tweet out the link on the other phone. So let's dive into some news and technology really quick. Mostly news. I have some news for you guys. I always got news. I'm always trying to figure out how to share information on here. Well, tonight I'm going to talk about something brand new. It's called the Daily 8. It's called the Daily 8, you guys. And here it is right here coming right up. The Daily 8 is a 8-minute daily motivational video that I'm putting out. And all it is it's really, you have a bad connection? Okay. All it really is the morning motivation without all the extras. It's just a hard, condensed best parts of the actual morning motivation. So if you guys are watching morning motivation, you know it's typically about 30 minutes or so. Well, in this 8-minute version, it's condensed. So that whole thing is condensed and only the best parts are in it. It airs on Facebook 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So it'll post 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook. And this is the condensed version. It's 8 minutes. And whatever I'm talking about that morning, it's condensed down. So if you miss morning motivation, you can log on to Facebook and catch the 8-minute version because you might be in a hurry. And then watch this. Then, if let's say you can't make it to Facebook and you want to download it to your phone, it will be on the podcast. Yes, it will. The video version and the audio will be on the podcast that I'll be launching pretty soon here. So there it is. As you can see, there's a good look at it right there. And then here is the, let me refresh this page. Here is the YouTube version. Let me see. Let me go to my channel. And what you can do is just go to the channel. I thought you could. Let me see here. Channel. Oh, no, we actually got to go to the live stream. So from the YouTube page, see, this is what I'm, let me try just one more link here. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so here's my YouTube page. And right now I'm running the, I'm doing a dual broadcast to both YouTube and Periscope. So there's a YouTube page, and here's my channel. There's a bunch of videos on there that you can watch. Some of the most popular uploads, perfectly clear. I'm going to be adding a lot of content to that as well. All right, you guys know that the Exposure 101 tour is coming up. I'm going to leak out some information. I think Sean Lee is probably going to talk about it probably in the morning. I'm going to leak it out. How many of you guys are actually sports shooters? How many sports shooters are there on the scope right now? How many of you shoot sports? Because I want to share something with you. This is some information that has not been released yet. How many sports shooters? I want you to throw up a Wi-Fi. Okay. LaFaithia. Who else? Anybody else? Well, I want you to spread the word on this. We're going to leak this all over the place, you guys. We're going to leak this like a broken pipe. Canon is going to be sending equipment that pro shooters use to shoot professional games for students to use while they're taking Terrell Lloyd's class. You heard it. Canon is sending gear. Canon USA is sending gear. So if you've never shot a 200 before, yeah, I'm not kidding you. If you've never shot a 200 prime or a 400 prime, Canon is going to send that gear so that you guys can handle it and get a feel for what it's like. Hey, don't tell Sean I told you, but that's what we're doing right now. We're working on that, and Terrell Lloyd is going to show you guys not only how to shoot great pictures, but you're going to get to handle that gear. I'm not sure I don't know what Terrell shoots with. It might be a 600. I know they'll probably send 600s, 400s, 200 primes. Sorry guys. Looks like it's going to be a Canon kind of day. Oh, did he? Okay, good. Sean already talked about it. All right, fantastic. So yes, we got confirmation on that today. I got confirmation on that this morning. So Canon is jumping on board with us. I'm really excited about that. And that's something that we've been talking about all year. We just didn't know how Canon was going to do it. And I got to say, Team Canon for sure coming through with the bigness, you guys. So that's what we have on store for you. So if you are signing up for Terrell Lloyd's class, you want to be sure that you are properly signed up and enrolled, because we will have a football team that he will be photographing. And I got to tell you, this conference is jam-packed already, and we are not going to be slipping and tripping on the registration. You got to be signed up. Iris just jumped in on the YouTube side, you guys. So there it is. Is that making sense? Do we have any questions? Because if not, we're going to dive into the contrast zone, baby. Let's go. Yeah, I know, right? Don't worry. Hey, I got a strong comeback in 18. So it's Canon's year, but it's going to be our year next year. Guaranteed. Yes, don't worry. You guys just are going to get to the plate first. That's all. But we're going to finish up the program all the way Nikon, baby. All day, every day. Hey, so I bleed the Nikon. So let's go. All right. Let's talk contrast here really quick. If this is if that was exciting information, I want you guys to drop in 3.3. Let's go. 3.3 if that's exciting. Yeah, Terrell's photo session, or we call it a photo walk. Terrell's photo walk is going to allow you to use Canon equipment that the pros use. Now, I know 300, 5.6s, and none of that. I'm talking about real lenses on real bodies. So you'll be able to experience that to know what pro shooters use. Canon is providing that for us, and I got to thank you, Canon, for that. Appreciate it. All right, here we go. So contrast is kind of tricky, and I got to tell you guys, when I first got into photography, I had no idea what this really meant. This is something that I just pulled off the internet, and it's pretty accurate in terms of the way I've interpreted and read through. So there's tonal contrast and color contrast, and the key to understanding is difference. There's a difference in either tone or a difference in color, but there is a difference. And you're going to think this is where grayscale really comes into play. How much is your camera going to see of that tonal contrast is going to determine the quality of your photograph. So I want you to know that going into it. And I'm going to show you some examples of what tonal contrast looks like in this next photo. So this photo that I'm about to show you right here, this is what tonal contrast looks like. So there's minimal colors. It's kind of like a sepia toned, right? This was shot in San Francisco, or it was shot in the San Francisco Bay Area on the Marin County side. So this is the Marin County side, and the location is Hawk Hill. It's up very high. Like when I say very high, you can literally see the top of that tower. So you've got to drive up and then walk up or hike up. So imagine, some gear. It can be pretty windy, so this shot can be pretty difficult to get. But the difference between the lights and the darks is what we would call high contrast shots. High contrast. When there's a grave difference, like here, you can't see anything but the black and the light. So we're going to have a high contrast shot. The wider, the higher the contrast. And that's what you need to know. It also works for color as well. Also, textures and shapes and things like that. So there it is. Now, here's a low contrast, because you see the shadows, and you can see in this photo, you can actually see detail in the shadows there, because this was shot for a print. But in this next shot, you see minimal shadows. And this is an architectural shot that I made for a client. And as you can see, there's shadowing, but it's very minimal to a certain extent. It's very minimal. So this would be your low contrast shot. And when we talk about portraiture and lighting, this is where we're going to get into that 1-to-1 where the contrast is almost even. There is no contrast. There is no grayscale. It's just almost, the colors are almost blending all the way across. And if everything was the same color in here, there would be zero contrast. So this is what we would call color contrast. And you have the leaves contrasting against the house. When you get dressed in the morning, you wear contrasting colors to offset your color palette to make it more interesting and stand out. Yes, these are mostly mids. These are mostly mids and grayscale. But this would be pretty close to what we would call, if these colors were the same, like for instance, the house and the trees were the same, we would have pretty close to muted colors. So it would just be no contrast. So, but we're getting close here because the camera is seeing these colors about the same, because there's only 3, red, blue, and green. So we've got reds and we've got the greens for sure, and some blue. So we're getting really close here. Now, is this making sense for you guys? I want you to, this is making complete sense to you. And you're like, now I got a better idea. Now I have a better idea of what this really means. I want you to put in, let's go 4.4, because we're going to dive into some serious. Thank you. We're going to dive into some serious stuff coming up in just a second. It's going to get a little heavy in here. So start warming up, get your exercises on. And this is information you can Google as well. So what I did is I went in and I didn't write this stuff. I didn't make up the text that you see. What I did is I pulled text that we would normally see. And it was a little confusing, to be honest with you. It was a little confusing because in the first sentence, they talk about difference, and then in the next sentence, it's completely different. So I could tell that it was written by someone who probably wasn't a photographer and more of a technical writer, because they put difference in the first sentence and they didn't relate it to the rest of the sentence. And let's go back and look at that. It's not here, but what I want you to do, because I omitted the first sentence, but if you look at this, it says tonal contrast and color contrast. TC refers to the difference in tones, and from the lightest tone to the darkest tone. In other words, the difference in tones from white to gray and black. Well, they have it here, but in a lot of the sentences, they didn't. And they put it towards the end. But they do. This wasn't the one then. I think it might have been. Let me make sure. Contrast is the brightest. Okay. Separation. Okay, so I'm going to show you. It's actually in this next one. It wasn't that one. But as you can see, they talk about difference, and that's the key word. There were some definitions that I read that didn't include difference. They just talked about lightest lights and darkest darks, and that for me was confusing. So difference, and how much difference, that's the way I would describe it. How much difference is equal to how much the contrast is. So if there's a lot of contrast, there's a lot of difference. If there's little contrast, where we're past the mid, Commander Mike referred to this image as close to mid, right? And it is close to mid, but if we subtracted out that shadow up underneath the roof, this would be a pretty flat image. And I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be true to how we really see it, because Typically, we see shadows, especially in a situation like this. The light would have to be perfect. And the reason why this is not true to what we see, because those trees up there are casting natural shadows. But because we're manipulating the image, it looks completely one-to-one. So I want you to know that. Is that making sense for you guys? I'm going to pause for some questions right now, and then we're going to go to the second part of this. Any questions? Dun, 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 uh, 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 dum. So the thing that I want you to know about contrast is the difference. Great difference, great contrast, right? Little difference, flat, one-to-one. That's okay. That can work, but is that what you're looking for? Because it's probably, if it's flat, it's probably going to mute your colors. All right, here's the second part. Now, this definition is kind of trippy, and this is the one I was talking about. Contrast is defined as the separation. Thank you. Thank you, Lamar. Contrast is defined as the separation between the darkest, they're using separation now for contrast, the darkest and the brightest areas of the image. I like that one. That's pretty easy. Now that we understand the first one, increased contrast, and you increase separation between the darks and the lights and the brights, making the shadows darker and the highlights brighter. Now that gets a little trippy right there, but it still makes sense. Making the shadows darker and the highlights brighter. So that's when we start to separate, you guys. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? Throw up a Wi-Fi. If you're confused, I want you to throw up a Wi-Fi if you're confused. If you're confused, throw up a Wi-Fi. Does the increased contrast increase depth? Okay, I'm gonna get to that question in just a second. Okay, you're not confused. No, it doesn't. So if you increase the contrast and you start increasing your blacks, you're going to lose depth, and that could be problematic, especially if you're shooting interiors. If you increase the contrast, you start to lose detail, and you got to be careful with that. One of the things that are notorious for that I see photographers do is they'll back a light up in a second. A photographer in the studio will back a light up if it's too bright in a second. And what you're doing is you're lessening the detail. You're increasing the contrast. So if you're trying to get that 12-to-1, just back it. Well, now I'm exaggerating, I'm being facetious. But if you're trying to increase your contrast, that's the quickest way to do it. Increase your contrast and lose detail. I don't care what f-stop you got. It's not going to matter. So that is, Mike, that's a tricky question. Commander Mike just threw a softball technical at me on that one. Does that help? Do you guys understand what that really means? Because Mike threw a very tricky question out there. Do you guys get what that means? Throw up a Wi-Fi if you're with me on that. All right, I want you guys to put in a Wi-Fi. So we're talking studio lighting now. If you back your studio lighting up, you're increasing the contrast. You're lessening the detail. All right, fantastic. I want you to remember that. Don't do it. It is the quickest way to degrade the quality of your image. Commander Mike, thank you for posing that most difficult question. All right. Now, here's a good example right here. And I'm going to share something with you. Matter of fact, that was a timely, muddy shadow. Muddy, like nasty shadows. And hey, wait, hold on. Mike, let's beat up on this one really quick. Let's beat up on this point. When you back that light out, Commander Mike says muddy shadows. wait till you print it. If you think it looks bad on the screen, wait till you print it. It's like a blob of nothing. Matter of fact, it's registering -5 on the histogram, and or worse. So don't back the light out, and that's the importance of metering. So I want you guys to know that. Okay, now this next image is a prime example of there's no digital information whatsoever. So this was the most difficult shot for me because on my camera it was so dark out here, and that's sulfur coming out of there. This is a volcano that just erupted the day before. Yes, I was insane for doing it. They let us up, and well, I don't even know. There was nobody stopping us because this was up this long road. This is in Hawaii, and the sulfur was so bad it was hard to breathe, and then you're up high. And so what I had to do is get a flashlight and point it, and that's how I got my focus. But my shutter speed is about 30 seconds. This is a 30-second shutter speed that I'm using, and my aperture is about 8 to 11 because I wanted to be able to capture enough detail. So it's hard to tell here because you can't see it, but I actually printed this image and you could see the detail in the leaves. So this is a good example for color contrast and tonal contrast mixed together. Definitely you have to be on a tripod. Okay, Mike. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that tricky question. I like that. You know what? I get stimulated at tough questions, you guys. I really do. It's so hilarious. All right. So there it is right there. So this is a tricky image, and this is where you get into your white balance has got to be superb here. You've got to have good white balance in order to make something like this happen because those are the major elements. That is a major element when you're dealing with multiple contrasts. Does that make sense to you guys? Is this a value oriented scope for you? Is this a value oriented scope? I want you guys to drop in. Let's go 6.7. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. Yes. 6.7. And I'm talking about this because when I first got into photography, I had no idea how this worked in relationship to photography and the camera. No one really even explained it to me. Thank you, Iris. And you guys that are watching on the YouTube side, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Now, I'm going to show you another image. There's texture based. Wait, hold on. Let me go back. I want to bring this up so you guys can see this. Hold on a second. I want to bring this up so you can see this and make sure you understand this because I'm going to show you something, and this is going to be a departure from how we would normally see contrast. This is going to be a huge departure, you guys. So keep that in mind. All right, you ready? Here we go. Okay, here's an image that I made. And in this image, you guys, there's something going on in terms of the texture. You notice that there's a lot of texture in there with just the leaves. The leaves are real hard. They're creating these abrupt lines. If you close your eyes and open from a distance, it could look like fish that washed up on the shore. You guys have seen that, like when pollution, oil sets in, the fish will wash up on the shore. So if you close your eyes and look at this at a distance, it could resemble that. Now, here's the thing. There's contrast between smooth and rough. And this was I made this image as part of my my 2212, and it illustrates how you can take on a macro and micro approach, how you can create abstract photography. Until you had to, yeah. Now watch this. It gets tricky here. I want to share something with you guys. I made the images that you're about to see with my cell phone because I wanted to prove to a student that it didn't matter what you used, it's just how you see the image. So, you know what? Cell phones aren't going to render like really tough light. And when I say render, it won't see the combination between the lights and the darks as well as a DSLR. But if you put your cell phone in the right situation, guess what? It'll create the right situation for you. And here it is right here. So I took on the creative zone process and I said, you know what? I'm going to go macro on this and I'm going to work on textures and abstracts. That was the technique for this. So that's one of the images. Pretty trippy. When you guys say this image was pretty trippy when you look at it, how many would say it was pretty trippy? You could be easily misled by what it looks like. Right? So this is all creative zone. Hey, Michelle, what's going on? All right. Now, here's another one. This was shot with my iPhone as well. And this next image is probably actually one of my favorite abstract images, you guys. Literally. And I'm going to bring it up on screen in just a second. Because I really want you to I want you to marinate on this this image that's on screen because and look at the textures. Look at the textures. All right. Now this next image here is you notice how just the light is hitting it, and when I made this, I actually thought about the Red Wings and how this logo somewhat resembles the Red Wings logo, Detroit Red Wings, the hockey team. But this was all about the light here. This is all about the light. And these are the type of, I call these retirement images. This is something that I'm going to sell a client down the road. You know, maybe I'm going to walk into a doctor's office and set them up with some images. I don't know. But these are, I call these retirement images. And this was shot on the same day as the other photo that you saw before. And what I wanted to illustrate was how you see and what you see down to the smallest detail. So if you look at the contrast, right, there's top and bottom contrast. The rocks on the ground, the puddle is smooth. There's contrast there. There's color contrast between the water, the ground, the leaf. This is how you can use your work technically to make a difference, to give it that wow factor. Thank you for the hearts, you guys. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate that. So this is how you can use contrast to create different situations. There's color contrast, there's tonal contrast, there's textural contrast. Is that making sense? So you can do a lot in an image. You can create texture in a portrait just by the dress and the clothes that you put on. All right. That's all I got for you guys tonight. I want to pause for some questions. If you guys have questions, I definitely, want to take your questions. If you're confused, he's like, Keith, I'm confused. This contrast thing is just too much. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, LaFaithia. I appreciate it. Thank you, you guys. Any questions? Okay. Fantastic. You're welcome, Mr. Dab. Okay, so if you guys see me looking down, I'm just looking down at the comments. Because if you're watching this on YouTube, it could look a little weird. And here's what's happening. I'm doing a dual broadcast to YouTube and Periscope. So YouTube and Periscope. So with Periscope, I'm looking at the hearts in the comments over here. And then on the, when you see me look to this side, I'm actually looking at the monitor at the YouTube responses. So let me just scroll through here and see if there's any questions. Yes, Daryl Hutton. There are a lot of you guys on YouTube. I don't know. We might be a YouTube crew in a minute. So be sure that you subscribe. That's important. And I'm going to be updating this with information. I'm going to be talking about fundamental stuff. I'm going to load I'll call them 5-minute gorilla videos. I'm going to do 5-minute gorilla videos. I'll be loading those to YouTube. And what I'll do is I'll attack a certain subject and do it within 5 minutes. So you don't even have to watch that long. So if you need to brush up on something, all you got to do is just come to the Keith B Dixon Zone YouTube page and get the 5-minute gorilla video, and you're going to be on fire. All right, you guys, that's all I got for you. And just going out, you guys know, let me explain this 90 PT and what's going on with that. What would be the first thing to keep in mind when approaching tonal contrast before you? Okay, that's a super great question, Dab. And here's what I'm going to tell you. The most important thing is to know how you're going to print it. Because if you underexpose too far, then what's going to happen? You're just going to get blobs of black paint, black ink on your image. It's just not going to pop. It's gonna be flat. So you've got to really understand where you want to land in terms of your exposure to make that image happen. So let me switch back out of here so you guys can see me. So Dab asked a question about tonal contrast and approaching it, and what should you know? And the thing that I'm going to say is you got to know how you're going to print it. The end use is the most important part. How you're going to print it. Is it going to be on a metal? Is it going to be on a canvas? That's all going to come into play. And you shouldn't even approach it until you've thought it through. Are you using any kind of filters? What's your exposure, your depth? You know, are you going to use like a 5.6 to an 8 so that you get complete sharpness and you don't introduce too much of depth of field into it? Because now you've got to push more light through, slow down your shutter speed. That could create flaring. So you've got to be able to think through all of those things before you approach it. But the number one thing that I would say to consider is how you're going to show that image will determine how you approach your tones. And are you going to white balance? You know, is there something there? So exposure is the key. I like that, Lafayette. Exposure is the key. And your white balance as well. Does that help, Dad? Does that help with your question? All right, fantastic. All right, any other questions before we depart? You guys are throwing like the super softballs at me tonight. I love it. I love tough questions, you guys. I really do. That just lets me know that people are really engaged in the content and they're thinking it through. So that's what a tough question means to me. And if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you straight up, I don't know the answer to it. I'll have to get back to you. All right, there it is. Keith B Dixon. I was talking about the 90 PT, you guys. This program will close in 4 months. You won't be able to get it at this price anymore. So if you're going to sign up, sign up. Because you can catch up on 4 90-minute videos. That's easy to do. And then, so this is the red train. It's $190. This is the least expensive. You get to watch it 3 times. You get to watch the video 3 times. And they run in succession every Saturday, 9 p.m., 9 a.m. And then the blue train is just pretty much the unlimited program. It's $290 a year. And check this out, you guys. I got something else that I'm going to be introducing, so get ready for it. The 90 PT Blue, the blue train, dope. All right, there it is right there, you guys. And that what you just saw before the slide pop up, that was 25 steps to basically generating some business and maintaining constant contact. So it's across the board, sales, marketing, 25 steps to win, you guys. This is one of the videos in the program. What's up, Dr. Walter Sims? Just jumping in, my friend. So this is the program. It's once a month, every 3rd Saturday. And 25 steps to win is deep. It's deep. Yes, there he is right there, Dr. Walter Sims. So we've got the red train, you guys. This is going out in 4 months. No more red train in about 2, I think it's like 2 months to go. So May, no more red train. And then we've got the blue train, you guys. So there it is. All right, Keith B Dixon. It's been sweet. Thank you guys for joining in. I will see you tomorrow morning in morning motivation. And don't forget, you guys, don't forget about Facebook and the Daily 8. Peace.